What do you get when you mix new tech with old tech and you want to play Atari 2600 cartridges? Let's talk about the Retron 77 console that plays old school Atari 2600 games. Let's get to it. It's another episode of Audio and Video Tech. All right, I'm going to set the mood. So, it was 1977. Star Wars New Hope was released. Porsche released the fastest production car that you could buy, the Porsche 930. And then there was the Atari 2600 gaming console that set the world on fire. That being said, can you mix new technology and old technology and still get a very good gaming experience, especially if you lived in, if you were old enough to have a 2600 back in the day when it came out, back in the late 70s, 80s, and you played that game on an old, you know, maybe a black and white TV, uh, old school CRT TV that weighed 1,000,000 pounds. And I think the video quality for the Atari 2600 was, I don't know, 100p, 144p. Um, so, new technology, the Retron 77. This is, this brings, let me move my coffee here so I don't spill it. Let me take a little drink. I don't want to waste my coffee. Let me put it right here on my sub. The Retron 77 gaming console brings the old school Atari 2600 into the modern 21st century, if you could call it that. It's well built. I've had this for a little bit over a month, playing with it with my sons, because my sons always ask me, what's it like back in your day? Like I'm super old or something like that. So I bought this at a local retro gaming store at the mall. I'll put a picture of it right here. It's out here in Tacoma, Washington. I think they're based out of Texas. But they do nothing but real cool retro gaming consoles and games as such. So I wanted to get, I wanted to buy a Atari 2600, and they had one, but when I went to go buy it a few days later, they had sold it, and it was like 125. I would have paid for it. If it worked and it was in good condition, I would have paid the 125 for it. No questions asked. But, someone already was faster than me. So with that being said, I asked them what's my next best option, and they told me this right here, the Retron 77. So I took a look at it. It has HDMI. It has a few different extra buttons on the back. It came with a SD card. Um, I forget what gigabyte in it. I think it's like I think it's like a 10 or a 20 gig. I don't know. But there's a SIM card in here. SD card, excuse me. Also, it has uh, there's a button right here for color and black and white. You can switch it back and forth. There's also the next button here. I'm just trying to look here. Uh, the middle button right here, silver button is 4x3 by 16 by 9. You can push it back and forth, but that's all depending on the game. Some games were pre-made for 4x3. Uh, there's certain games out there. Um, so the other button right here, I'm just trying to look here. And there's another button right here. With the old Atari 2600, you could hit the button or switch to make it do some type of hack move. I never knew anything about it. That's a little bit beyond my pay grade, but it's there if you want to use. It has HDMI and it has a USB, micro USB connection for your power. And then on the front, you have several different buttons here. You have two power ports here for your controller. I'll get to that in a second. Player one, player two. You have your on and off. Everything has a good spongy tactile feel to it. So when you hit the button, you know something's happening. Um, you have a load, you have save, reset, and mode. So like mode, a lot of the games had a lot of modes to it, different versions of the game that you could play. And so then when you do play on an old 2600, the like on the Defender here, I only paid $5 for Defender. If you know Defender, if you grew up in if you're old enough to have one of these back in the late '70s, '80s, Defender was bomb. I love Defender, and because I love the landscape of it all. Uh, in the old 2600, you would be looking down at it. It would say Defender, but on this particular model, you have to put it in backwards. I don't know if that's a copyright issue or something, but that's how they did. I have no idea why. So that's what it looks like inside. You can it's put in backwards. And then with the controller, it comes with a controller. The controller is 10 feet long, so it's plenty long. This one here has two buttons for, if you're a lefty or a righty. I remember the days when I would play the 2600 all day long, and the this rubber grommet would just like come out, or I'd break it. I remember those days. Did that happen to you when you played it? You're like really into the game and you like broke it because it's made in plastic inside. But so far, these have been hold up really good. I like the edges, these bottom corners right here, right there, right there, right there. When you hold it, your palms for your where your thumbs rest up against, so you don't have the point of the controller digging into your palm of your hand. So it makes it very comfortable. So this area right here. So I've been pleased with that. I have had no issues whatsoever. Excuse me. Uh, Instead of having the old school a 2600 graphics, which is what 100 maybe 144p, this does with the HDMI. You just hook up to this and to the back of the TV. Um, you're getting 720p. It's HD 720p. Yeah, it's not 4K, but it's a waste. You don't need 4K you don't even need 1080p for the type of games that you get on the old school 2600. They're not high graphics. What the what the 720p is going to do, it's going to make the edges more crisper. It's going to bring out more color. It will make it a more enjoyable gaming uh, experience. You're not going to get the bleed over or the artifacts uh, that you would in an older Atari 2600. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I know. So, but if you did want to play a old school a 2600 console, you would there are adapters out there because it uses a old school RC jack, RC cable antenna type, like the new TVs. It makes it really hard, but there are products out there, adapters out there to make it work. I like this because at the end of the day, I'm not playing the console, I'm playing the game. That's what I'm like. This just operates the game, and you're playing this right here, and you're just getting a lot better experience. So this right here, Defender, I paid $4.99. Frogger, you remember Frogger? Gotta have Frogger. I paid $6.99, so $7. Pac-Man. Okay, so this was $5.99. So remember, these games are from the late '70s to '80s. So what year are we in now? These are still working. Old school football. This is where Madden started out. Um, this was only $3.99. Video Olympics. Got this in the clearance section. That's a cool game, and so all in all, I have been really pleased with it. My two sons love playing these retro games. It's nice to get away from playing Battlefield and Call of Duty. All these higher 4K graphic games, and going back to what I grew up on. So here's a clip of playing Defender, and you'll see that it actually looks a lot crisper than your stock. Uh, if you played it on TV and it was not HD. So here it is right here. So I'm just enjoying it. I'm having fun, and I have it running through my home theater system. Couldn't do that back in the day. So would I recommend this? If you have some, if your Atari 2600 was broken, a lot of them are these days, um, and you wanted to, and you still had a bunch of games that worked, you're going to find some games work and some games that don't. But it's not a big deal because they're not that expensive, and you can relive the memories of your childhood for only a few bucks. You can't do that with anything now these days. So would I recommend the Retron 77 for your gaming experience? I would. I would definitely recommend this. This is uh, it's a great little console for what it is. I paid $76 for this. It came with a controller. I ended up having to buy another controller, so we would have two controllers. So like me and one of my sons could play it, play a two-player game. But it's a fun time. Just take a break from the Xbox and just play different games. They really really love the football. It's so dorky and corny and old school and blocky, but we love it. And but all these games we love. There's only been a few games that I bought and they didn't work. So it's to expected that some of these games might not work, but they're only a few dollars. So all I could do is return it back and either return it to I'll return back to the same place I bought it, and I can replace it for another one or something for equal value. So I'm not even worried about that. But we are loving the Retron 77. It is a blast to play, and it's amazing how competitive my two boys are when we play, and they're just totally digging it. And yeah, we love it. We definitely recommend it. It is definitely, I would say, a hit. 10 out of 10. And so please don't forget to smash that like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment at the end of the video. If you're a big fan, you grew up on the Atari 2600 back in the late '70s, '80s, and do you miss playing it? Well, if you do, this is a great inexpensive option, and it's modern for what you can be. So, thank you very much. You have a great day.